Hello again from Metro Manila, the Philippines, Southeastern Asia. This is installment number 32 into my video series on the Ex-Adventist Testimonies found on the former Adventist Fellowship's website. Most of these people are Americans, including the one whose testimony I will summarize here. So no copyright infringement intended or any personal or collective attacks, only Christian edification. This American Christian man and former Seventh-day Adventist was baptized into the Adventist church at the age of 12 and attended many church meetings. His mother and grandmother were Adventists. Then, as a young adult, he turned his back on Adventism because he wanted to live like his friends were living in or around 1970. Then he joined the US Army. 2 years later, he had an interesting road to Damascus experience when he was stationed in the Micronesian archipelago that is in Oceania, but near the Philippines. Each year, the Japanese searched these islands to reclaim bones of their war dead from the Second World War. They then consecrated the bones they found into a pagan shrine, complete with an idol, along with a full Shinto ceremony. Shinto is one of the main religions of Japan, alongside Buddhism. And they, American soldiers, were invited to participate. At this point, suddenly, memories of his childhood returned to him, especially the first commandment, "You shall have no other gods before me." The Adventist faith to this man had been one of hypocritical idiosyncrasies. There was in his mind an awful lot of hypocrisy involved in their teachings. For example, while they decried the pagan practices of the world, it didn't seem to matter to them that they could participate in pagan Christmas and Easter practices, in quotation marks. Nevertheless, the teachings about the Sabbath were to him the one thing that was true. So during his days leading up to his discharge from the US Army, he visited many Adventist churches. And then he got involved with the Worldwide Church of God, which at the time was run by Herbert Armstrong. It was a strict Sabbatarian group, so strict, in fact, that you would have a hard time telling them apart from Orthodox Jews. They also kept the so-called holy days of the Bible. Then about 1995, God began to impress on the leader, impress on the leader of the group, Joseph Tkach Sr., the understanding about what some Adventists now derisively call New Covenant theology. And Mr. Tkach began bravely to lead the entire church into an understanding that Jesus is the fulfillment of the Sabbath. Mr. Tkach was not to be dissuaded, but in the middle of the changes, he developed cancer and died in 6 months. So at the time of writing this testimony, 5 years of his writing this testimony, 5 years had passed, and that church, the Worldwide Church of God, had become firmly entrenched in basic evangelical mainstream Christian orthodoxy, but not without some costs. And this man had embraced the changes fully in their doctrinal nature, although he was not entirely happy with the church's corporate administration. He only attended that church irregularly. But the one thing at the time of writing that he believed in and rejoiced in was knowing that legalism would not buy him any favor with God. Christ and Christ alone is our salvation.